there was light. Welcome, 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 ladies, to the show. I am so excited to have you guys for my season finale of Queen's Table Talk. One and all. I got to do something. I'm going to try to do something over here that I haven't tried. I added this little, will it do it? Come on, will it do it? Let it do it, God. Let it do it. Let's do this. Let's do our cheers and our clap for the ladies in the building today. I have next to me Hanan Miraby. We've got Natalie Lamb in the building. We have Jamie Smith in the building, and we have Tedrah Paul. Welcome, 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 one and all. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
Doing
Great.
well.
I'm so excited
Yes.
to have you guys in the building. I am excited to have you in the building. Oh, we got people already in the building. Welcome, Chronicles of a Virgo. Welcome, Intellectual Soapbox. Welcome, Miss Riri. Thank you guys for joining the show. Share, share, share with your friends. Share with your friends. So, guys, starting with you, Hanan, introduce yourself to the people and tell them what you do.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Once again, this is my second time speaking with you and so appreciate the platform. Like you said, my name's Hanan Marabi. I am dialing in from ATL. I am the founder of Earth Angels, nonprofit organization, and the legacy is me. So happy to be here. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Next, we have up Natalie Lamb. Introduce yourself to the people, Natalie.
Hey, Victoria. Thank you again for having me. It's such a pleasure. We had such an amazing talk the first time. So excited to hear what everyone brings to the table. I'm a life, relationship, and grief coach as well as an author. And that's enough for now. We can jump into more as we keep moving on.
Exactly. Next, we have up the beautiful, the lovely Jamie Smith. Jamie, introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you so much. I'm Jamie Smith, and I live in Northwest Arkansas. I am a writer, small business owner, and an author. The reason I differentiate between writer and author is I write for other people, but then I also just published my first book.
Yay. And last but not least, we have the fabulous Tedrah Paul in the building. Tedrah, introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry, my camera's not on. It was moving a bit dodgy earlier. So we got to work with what we've got. But my name is Tedrah. I am a Christian and relationship coach. And I work with women all over the world, helping them grow their relationship with God and, grow who they are and find their purpose on this earth that we live on.
Yes, 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 yes. And we have one more that's coming into the building shortly. Shawnti Refuge. For you guys that don't know Shawnti, Shawnti was on the show previously. She is an author, she is a life coach, and she has there as well as journals. So she'll be joining us shortly. So, ladies, everybody's from different time zones, and I am so glad that you guys were able to fit me into your schedule. I'm gonna jump right in for the sake of time. So, as you guys know, I'm Victoria J. I'm the host of 12th Street Talk Back. I am a minister and I'm an all around just good person. I want to see the best in people, and I believe that God has me on a journey to bring people together to help heal. I went through a healing journey. I'm still going through a healing journey. And that's the purpose of this show. He redirected the show for the need of the people. And we are all kingdom kids. So let's help one another out. Let's grow together. Today, I wanted to bring a group of ladies together because these ladies were on the show this season and we had wonderful, wonderful conversations, but I want to dig in a little bit more. So, my first question for you guys is, how does it feel being a woman at this time in your life? And if anything that you could leave behind for our young women, what would it be? And before you answer that question, I'm a Kamala Harris fan all the way. So for me, I'm excited about this opportunity that we might possibly have in the United States. But who wants to go first?
Well, I'll jump in there. I will say that it's exciting to see women's movement that we have. Of course, there's always, more steps that we need to take, and I believe we will be able to take. But it's
Mhm,
exciting to see that we are crushing many of the myths, many of the things that blocked us from going forward. I think there's becoming more an acceptance of women being able to stand firm, tall, intelligent, amazing, taking up space. I
mhm,
think, years before we were kind of taught not to take up space. So we are loudly taking up space unapologetically and showing forth that as we take up the space, we can not just, not, I don't want to say dominate the space because I don't think that's necessarily the choice. I think that we stand, in equality and equity with everyone else that's in the room. To the point of what do I want to leave behind? I have two daughters. So, what I always have taught them and wanted them to carry is that one, you get to take up space. Two, you get to pivot as much as you need to pivot.
mhm,
I'm a true believer in writing your own definitions of what success is, what beauty is, what it is to be a woman, right? And so write that definition and rewrite it as many times as you need until you get where you want to be and feel
mhm.
content and confident in that space. To be honest and have integrity and to value yourself. One of the things I have always told my daughters is I want you, when you wake up, to be able to look in the mirror and feel proud. But I also want when you come home that you can look in the mirror and still feel proud. And those are choices that you make. So when you honor your choices, right? And the power in a choice, right? That we get to move in a way that shakes the foundation and shifts us to the positions that we want to be in. And I think in all aspects, relationships, career, our walk with God, I think all of that, the definition underneath is I get to choose and I get to own my choices. And then I keep pivoting until I become the person that I am most proud of.
I had the pleasure of talking to you in the middle of the summer, and you said the exact same thing. Um, I thought you were gonna mention there that you wrote 2 books to your daughters, and I love that when I talked to you, about things that you wanted them to know
Yeah,
about
yeah,
you. You left that behind for them, and I thought that was amazing, that you did
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's called What I Want You to Know. It's under the Wisdom Chronicles. It'll be like 6 or 7 books in that. The first one was called Open Your Eyes, which is generic for everyone. The second one is called What I Want You to Know, and it was written for them over the lifetime that I had them. My oldest is 23, and I just published it a year ago. And it really was just wisdoms I want them to carry in case I wasn't here. When they got a certain age, they would have that information in hand to help them, help guide them.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I did, and that stuck with me. Hanan, how about you?
So, so for me, being raised in Ghana and having been a product of two cultures that are very male dominated. So both my Lebanese culture, so I'm Arab and Ghanaian, Arab and black mix. So West African culture and Arab culture, both very strong, male dominated. And then too, on top of it all, I was orphaned. So not only did I was I in that kind of environment, but then I lost my shell. Being orphaned is like a turtle without a shell, and so it was layers of suppression and oppression, if you will. And so my legacy, and what I one of the things that one of my strongest message is that self-belief can get you
Mhm.
through everything. And self belief is the reason I'm here today. My message is about sharing what you can do alone and what you can do without support. You know, many people have great parents and amazing grandparents, and you know, you hear phenomenal stories of, oh, someone came in and helped me, or oh, I had this amazing boss and leader that showed me this or that. My story is that I didn't have any of those things, and yet I made it. And so I share with women, especially young women, that they can too, and that if you believe in yourself, and that if um, you want something enough, you can attain, you can conquer, you can survive, you can make it, not just survive but thrive. And so my whole, you know, my 42 years has been a testament to just that. And so my followers, people I speak to, those that support me, that is, I think, the number one message I stand for, is that you can make it even when you don't have the support that we all need.
Mhm.
And so, and not just make it, but be successful. So, and that's to women, that's to men, that's to everybody out there.
Mhm.
But I think primarily young women look at me and think, wow, like if she made it, I can too. And so that is, I think I answered both your questions in that answer.
Wow. That was
Thank
that I've heard it before, but that was amazing. I mean, the resilience for one, because I know the story.
you.
For
Yes.
those of you guys that haven't heard Hanan's story, you definitely have to go over to our YouTube channel and watch her and Natalie's conversation. Fabulous, fabulous women. Looks like we had Shawnti Refuge pop in the building, and we got Kimberly coming as well. So, guys, I don't know if it's my internet or their internet, but Lord, work with us. Uh, the next we have in the house, we have, um, well, before I introduce Jamie, welcome, 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 Shantae. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I already gave your kind of introductory. We've got one more coming in. Kimberly Christian will be in, and she's actually a therapist, and a Christian life coach. So she'll be joining us shortly. Jamie Smith, you're
Yes, ma'am.
next. So how is it for you being a woman in this day and time? And if
So
anything, what could you leave behind for your young people?
the I hate this answer, but I would say it's complicated because on many fronts, I feel like as women, we're really learning to, as the other ladies have shared, take up space and to own our stories. But I'd love to see more of that and have it be less of a thing, if that makes sense. Instead of
Hmm.
it being a remarkable, unusual thing, have it be the norm. Have it be something where we're seen as equals, and I know we're seen as equals in the eyes of God, but in how we communicate and how we tell our stories, I'd love to see more of that and see that grow. And as far as what I feel like I want, what I can help pass on, I'm going to read to you my life mission statement. It's also my business mission statement. It says to inspire people towards better self awareness and ownership of their inherent value, core beliefs, and purpose through my own personal vulnerability, storytelling, and leadership. So that's what I want to see, is by being vulnerable and being willing to share my story, that inspires others to be able to look at themselves and see what their value is and what their core beliefs are, and what
Hmm.
how those two uh, shape who they are and what they bring to the world.
Wow. Well, that's a mouthful.
A whole lot. Don't ask me a question if you want a short
Oh,
answer.
yeah, you did. You did. I don't think it was complicated at all because I know you, and we've had great conversations. So that sounds right about you. Um, your heart is so big and you love God so much. So I kind of expected that response from you. So Tedra, how do you feel about being a woman in this time?
You
Um,
know what? I
yeah.
think I kind of agree with Jamie, and I love being a woman in this time in life because there's so much, I feel like there's so much growth happening as women. We're really developing ourselves and we're really maturing and finding who we are. Where I think like back in the day, a lot of people, a lot of women didn't stand up for themselves and they didn't, know their rights and things like that. And I think it's important to understand that as much like I see a lot of women saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. I really want a stronger relationship with God. I really want, to have those friends that are there for me, that support me. And it's like you say you want it, but you're not taking the step forward to actually do
Mm.
those things. It's all well and great for us to sit here and say, yeah, I want this, I want that, I want this. God will provide, yes, but we also have to put in the work and actually stand up and say, this is what I need to do to get to where I am so that I can make this life that God has given me the best that I can. But yeah, that's mine.
Excellent. Excellent. My true Tedrah. My true Tedrah.
um,
Shawnti
Hey,
Refuge.
yeah.
Introduce yourself to the people. And the question was, how do you feel being a woman at this time in your life? And what, if anything, would you like to leave behind to impact our young women?
Well, again, thank you for having me. My name is
You're welcome.
Shawnti Refuge. No problem. I am a certified mental health coach, mental health advocate, keynote speaker, and author, and I help women to release, heal, and thrive with the art of guided journaling. To answer your question, reflecting on being a woman at this time in my life, I feel a mix of strength, resilience, and a deep sense of responsibility. Um,
Mm,
I've I've navigated through significant challenges, and I continue to grow from them. And it's taught me the importance of self love, authenticity, and mental wellness. I'm everything mental wellness. And what I like to leave behind for our future young women is the message that they are enough as they are. I want them to understand the power of self discovery through journaling and the importance of prioritizing their mental health and the value of kindness to themselves. And I hope to inspire them by helping them to embrace their vulnerabilities and strengths, and to know that they don't have to conform to anyone's expectations to in order to feel worthy. And if they can learn to truly love and accept themselves, then they can change the world and maybe even the world around them.
amazing. Amazing responses, ladies, all of you guys. I mean, just with the personal conversations I've had with all of you, I kind of expected along the lines of this. For me, I think getting the message out there is the most important part of my life right now. Getting God's word out there. If I could leave them behind anything, is for them to have a relationship with their heavenly Father. That's my mission statement right now. For me, being a woman right now, uh, God has brought me so far. I can't believe that I'm sitting here right now. In fact, I was just thinking that as I was looking at all of you guys show up individually, that, we really don't know the thoughts that He has for us, because this would have never been a turn that I took in my life. And look, I'm here with six amazing women, and I thought I was going to be in the corporate world all my life in retail and makeup and clothes and hair, but you never know the twists and turns that He takes you. And for me, I think that uh I don't want to cry, but I'm a big old crybaby. I love the fact that He touched me and He's using me and He's developing me. So if I can leave anything behind, it's His word, His love, that agape love, not the stuff that the world is giving to us, but that real authentic love of Jesus Christ. So that's my mission. Oh gosh. Kimberly just text. She's coming in just a minute, guys. So we'll have one more pop in. Let's move on to the next one. I kind of threw something in there after that question. I wanted you guys to tell me because I don't know if it's going on here. Pretty much it's going on everywhere. What barriers do you guys think that we can break down in our educational system as women? We've got a lot going on in our educational system. We all know about all the horrific shootings that happen in so many different states and around the world. But right now, coming out of the pandemic, I have a lot of educators in my family and friends, and they're having it rough trying to get our children, our young people to adjust back to getting back to what the normal school system looked like. What kind of barriers do you think that we can contribute from the outside to help our educators get them where they need to be? So I think one of the teachers put it best that I know. They're a little bit rambunctious and it hasn't stopped since the pandemic. I'll start with you, Shawnti. What do you think that we could contribute?
There are a lot of barriers that are in place when it comes to that, and especially as a woman.
Mhm,
Some of them, one thing I know, gender bias in STEM. That's one of the most significant barriers, and it discourages girls from pursuing careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. So I think we need more girl friendly STEM education. And I think we could, as a representation of women, create membership programs, push for curriculum changes, and so girls could see themselves as worthy in the success of STEM because we're smart. Let's face it, we're smarter than men anyway. So we girls feel that way. We know we are, but they need that push and they need to see people look at who look like them, to so they can be like, okay, well, she can do it, I can do it. Yes, you can. Access to resources. That's another thing. There's a lot of economic disparities. And for
mhm,
girls, especially in underprivileged communities that don't have the same access to educational resources like technology, tutoring, a lot of those things like tutoring and technology, those are, for pay. And a lot of the girls that are in underprivileged communities, they can't afford that. So we need to make it more accessible.
mhm,
We need to address sexual harassment and violence.
mhm,
School is supposed to be a safe place for our kids to learn. I know when I was going to school, it was a safe space, and I can't say that it is. These days because the things like you said, the stuff that's going on, and now we have teachers being inappropriate with students. We have to, and it's not just males, females do it too, and we have to combat that. I mean, that's disgusting. Anyway,
mhm,
so as women, we could push for stronger policies, stronger support systems, and then respect on
mhm,
consent to ensure the schools are safe. Who wants to send our child to school and it's not safe?
mhm,
And that's why a lot of people are starting to homeschool now
mhm.
and
Yeah,
encourage
I had a
resources.
girlfriend that homeschooled for 20 years,
Hmm.
and you just see so much. I always say that I'm thankful that I don't have any small young ones in school right now.
I'm
I
thankful too
know.
because
Yeah. I know, Tedrah, you got little ones. How do you feel about the barriers and the things that we're facing in the school system right now?
Like this is literally a conversation we're having with all my siblings the other day because all of us we've got like kids the same age, and we're just so like I hate it, but it's so scary to think about all the things that are gonna be happening. Like you're saying, like everything that happens in these schools, like you send them to school and you're scared, and you're like, what are they gonna learn today? What's gonna happen? How are they gonna behave? How are they gonna be treated? And you have all these questions going on, and it's like there's not a lot that we can do. We can't control what the government decides, what people are doing, what they say, how they're going to act. But what we can do is we can teach them right and wrong. We can always remind them that at any given time, you can talk to God, say a prayer. And for us as parents, it's important to pray for our kids. It's important to pray for them and remind them and just ask God to protect them and to help them get through these next 12 years of education and help them to overcome everything that they're going to go through, because it's sad, but there's not much that we can do about it. Like, I'm one person, I can say something, but then there'll be 10 people behind me that want the other thing. So it is, I think it's such a tough one. It's really tough.
I think that's the world that we live in now with everything, not just with the school. It's hard to push your agenda. I think all of us have something that we're trying to get out there into the world, and it is hard. What it takes a mighty fist, like our parents used to tell us. It takes a group of people. What about you, Natalie? What do you think? What are some of the barriers that you think?
I think my mm, So I think what if we look at it as a whole holistic thing and across the board, I think as the education system, we never have tried to really build up children. I think that we have pushed knowledge and get this answer and move in that direction, but we never really pushed emotional intelligence, teaching
Mhm,
them the respect one to another, how to navigate when you are feeling uneasy, when you're angry, how to deal with your emotions. Not that teachers already have a lot, right? They have the curriculum that they have to teach. But I think for like each individual class, I think if teachers learn how to, with the curriculum, add it in, teaching emotional intelligence, teaching them how to soothe themselves, teaching them self regulation and emotional regulation, I think we would see a pivot even in each classroom, but children are not given those kinds of education, right? And in all the years that education has been created, we have stuck with the same platform for, however many years it's been created. But we need to pivot that because it's not working anymore. You interject when you talked about COVID, right? And how that change happened. You had where now I don't have to be as regulated. I'm at home just with myself and my siblings who I'm used to, or I'm just home alone and I can move at whatever phonetic speed I want to move. You
mhm,
interject then social media and the quickness of it. We are now raising children with such quick emotions. You sit there and scroll, and as adults as well, right? We go from happy to sad to laughing to crying to within the matter of 5-10 minutes, you could feel almost the full gamut of emotions that
mhm,
humans house. But what do you do with that? It's just quick. It's moving. It's never settled. So a part of what we need to do is teach people how to settle themselves, how to calm themselves within their space. And only you can be responsible for that. But if we teach children, we're talking about children, how to pause, right? How to identify what's going on within them and then to choose appropriately. Because again, choice is everything. We can change how we move, not just as children, but it's lessons that adults need as well because we don't know how to pause. We
mhm.
barely know how to be self regulated, right? We fly off the handle at the moment that something happens. And then I'm asking children whose minds are not fully developed to be more advanced than the adults that are around them. So if I look at the children, I must look at the adults around them because they're getting their cues and understanding from somebody. They're not just creating it out of thin air. But
Mhm.
if we don't attach the two, right, the adults and the children, and we emphasize on educating adults as much as we educate children, I think we will always fall in this little abyss that we find ourselves in, that
Mhm.
the answer to the change is much more layered, I think, than we want it to be, because we would love to throw all of it on children and us not consume any of it.
Right, right. I always look at it like We're walking around in the wilderness right now. It seems like after the pandemic, nothing went back the same. And I know people use that as a memes. It's never going to be the same, but we are the structure that we used to have in the classroom. I'm seeing it across the board, in the news, different things going on, teachers getting beat up, and it's just a lot to intake. So I think, as Tedrah was saying, it's going to take more than one person to change it, but it's not just the children, it is educating the parents as well. What about you, Jamie? You're a writer, and your mind is always going. What do you think about it?
Well, I come from a different perspective a little bit, in that I don't have kids, so I'm not actively involved in the school system. But much of my career has actually been covering the education system through journalism, and so what I see from the outside looking in is a growing movement towards away from cooperation and communication. It feels like there's more of a with the schools and with families. It's more of a us versus them dynamic instead of a collaborative. And they always say that they want to do more collaboration and they want to work with each other, but I'm not seeing that happening. And so I think more collaboration on values, um, because whether we like it or not, our kids are, people's kids are going to be learning values in the school system because they're there for 8 hours a day. And
Hmm.
so, if we start collaborating more on values, like respect, like don't talk back to the teacher, like someone said, don't hit the teacher. That to me would have never occurred to me as a child to hit my teacher. I think that that's something that, and I think that's also the woman in me coming out, is that I want us to communicate better and collaborate better instead of fighting against each other and having it always be this us versus them
Yeah.
scenario.
I think I picked that up in a documentary that I was watching last weekend. It was a history documentary on Moses, and they were breaking it down, and they had all these scholars, I mean, from all around the world, and they all came to the same conclusion that God was trying to teach them when he brought them out of Egypt how to work together, how to have the same faith. And I
Yeah.
think that's the bulk of it. I think, Natalie, you said it. Tedrah, you said it in your own way. Jamie, you just said it in your own way. Shawnti, you said it in your own way. We've got to get focused on how can we get back together to togetherness, because one person can't do everything. And I think that's what the directions we're going. My mother used to have all these little sayings where, you're going left and I'm going right. And I think that's what it is. Some are going left, some is going right. There's no room to talk. I learned something through my last 3 years of this journey is I was answering and listening to combat instead of listen just to listen. I didn't have to agree with everything my children or someone else was saying, but I was listening to combat because I was taught that old school way, old school mother. And I think that we're past that. And I think now it's time for us to focus on, okay, I've heard you. It's like tug of war. You pulled this way, we pulled this way. Now, how can we all meet in the middle and get something done to help our educators? I pose that question for the educators because they are the ones that went to school, rolled up their sleeve, and some of them don't even have children and having to deal with our children in this day and age. And I don't know about you guys in North Carolina, substitutes and bus drivers. I mean, we have had so many teachers quit that we've got more substitutes than we have teachers in the classroom right now. We have more kids not getting home on the bus because we don't have bus drivers, because adults are afraid for their lives, because if a fight breaks out on the bus, they don't want to be the one to break it up, or they don't want to get body slammed like we saw the teacher in Florida a couple years ago by someone that may or may not have a disability, but still, it's still togetherness. I did a piece a long time ago about if your child does have something like a disability. It should be a form of communication there with the school system first. This is how I handle Billy at home. If this is what was to occur, this is how I handle Nicole at home, because she's special needs. I don't like saying special needs, but she's not like the rest. So, with that being said, if we don't have that dialogue, we're going into the school systems right now, and it's kind of some of it is kind of like children raising children, because myself, I didn't start maturing until I hit my 40s. And my mother used to tell me that, and I used to spaz out like, I'm grown, but really I wasn't grown mentally. And everything started to come together in my late 40s. So I think it also has a lot to do with the brain maturing as well. But we can have some of these hard conversations that nobody wants to have. What about you, Hanan? Because I know you have.
So I have kids. I'm
Yeah.
a glass half full kind of girl. So I agree with, everything everyone said, but I also see the other side. And let me tell you, kids are so much smarter now.
Mhm.
My 13-year-old son knows more than me in terms of when I was at his age. Not street smarts, because that I beat him any day because my life was hard. But in terms of information, in terms of a math whiz, in terms of science, like back of his hand, in terms of his phone, in terms of IT. I went to a graduation a few months ago, and there were 15 valedictorians from that high school.
Mhm.
Mhm.
15. Have you heard of that before?
Mhm.
I haven't. I heard of one, I've heard of two, I've heard of three tying. I have never heard of 15. They all had over 4.0s. Kids are smart these days. So don't make that mistake and think that, oh, it
Hmm.
was, some things are better than they were and some things are worse. Like, kids speak up now. Back in the day, we did not speak up. Just like you were saying. I mean, like we've all said, we were all shushed and quieted, and right, it was a generational thing, it was an age thing, it was a cultural thing. But regardless of your culture, things are different now. Children have choices, children get to speak. We were seen and not heard back in the day, especially in my life. I mean, being orphan, nobody cared what I had to say. I didn't know what I liked and didn't like until I was 18, and that was just food. I was like, oh, I actually don't like raw broccoli. I was 18 when I figured that out. So I think that it's not okay to generalize. And I think that there are some incredible stories out there of brilliant children today. I think a big part of it is the parents, and the parents were raised the old school way. So it makes you think something wasn't right in the old school way, because the parents are in their 20s and their 30s, some of them are in their 40s, and you meet incredible children, you meet incredible teachers, you walk through remarkable schools, but I believe in the power of one. So, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference in my little space? And what can I do? I can raise my children right. I can teach
Mhm.
them to respect. I can teach them to be kind. I can teach them to see something, say something, be brave. You've seen mommy be brave my whole life. This is what I've shown you. This is the best gift we can give our children, is for them to be brave, for them to say, no, I don't want that. Yes, thank you. No, thank you. Don't do that. You know, that is such a gift, to raise your children with that bravery, or for them to see what bravery looks like. And so that's what I do, is that I lead by example. I show my children how I talk to others, how I treat others, what kindness looks like, what self-assertion looks like. Their school is a 5 out of 10. We live in the country in Cartersville, Georgia. Their school is a 5 out of 10. But guess what? My kids are A students. They are 10 out of 10 kids, because their mother raised them that way. You know,
Mhm.
and so the teacher is supplementing what I already gave. And I didn't come with, oh, my parents did, or I had the best, or no. I juiced from all that I knew and everything that I've lived, and I'm
Mhm.
giving it to my children. So that's what we can do. And if you're into government and into state, because really state level is where all the important rules are made. So yes, you should try and rally for those things that matter in the state government. But if you don't have that kind of power, but you have children, then you need to teach them to be kind, to be respectful, because a lot of our problems are that the children, those that have been mentioned at least today. Now, some barriers that I have faced are like my kids are lumped in with the bad kids. So, like my kids who would never hurt a fly, who are really good boys, who do what they're told, who get
Mhm.
4.0s, who get their A's, their homeworks, and everything done, they're told to just keep quiet, follow the rules. It's militant. The school is run militantly, but I get it. It's because they don't want all the bad things that you all mentioned to happen. So my barrier is rather the opposite. I wish my the teachers and the school would relax a little bit on my kids, because it's so like regimented. You sit down, you work all day, 8 hours, and like somebody said, it is regimented. It's, the answer or you don't. My 13-year-old son is doing math that I did in college. Make no mistake, these children are brilliant.
Mhm.
So it's not that they're not getting the smarts, and they're not getting, the education and the background. They are brilliant children. The
Mhm.
alpha generation they're going to change this world. I have no doubt, no doubt about it. But there are barriers because, yes, they can pick up a phone and look at everything. But where's the mother? Where's the father? Where's the grandma? Why didn't you set limitations on the phone so the kid couldn't watch those things? You
Mhm.
know? So yes, yes, and you have to take control. If you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're a parent, if grandparent, whatever, the power of one is a beautiful thing.
Brilliant answers from all of you guys. I see it from all scales. I think the way that I was looking at it a little bit, before we move on to the next question was, like you said, the bad apples. And there's not really a bad apple, because even if we're not a parent, we can show each other something different. And it may be you, for instance, or your children, for instance, that can show them another way. I do think that we have a lot of broken homes, and a lot of conversations need to be had, maybe even with the parents. Most of you guys up here are life coaches or therapists, so you see that brokenness all day of not being able to communicate, and I think that's a big thing. I know we have some brilliant kids out here. I've got a niece that almost, what, 6 years ago graduated. When you said, have I ever seen someone 15 valedictorians graduate, she was one of them, and she got a full ride to Texas A&M, and
There
now
you
she's a
go.
veterinarian. And
Yes.
when I saw that, I had never seen anything like that in my life.
It's really
15.
remarkable. It's really remarkable how smart these kids are.
So I think they are our future. I think that the barrier, maybe we could be a little bit more hands-on, whether we have kids or not, and helping protect some of our educators. They are leaders. If they don't lead the classroom, how are our children going to have futures? Yeah, they can figure out some things on their own, but they're educators there for reasons. They're educators in the school system, in college. They're there for a reason. We've got mental therapists up here. You guys are here for a reason. I would never try to throw my hat in that realm, because I don't give the best advice. But at the same token, you're here for a reason. I think that all of us have a unique position to play when we start talking about things like this. But I just thought maybe I would throw that in there to see what you guys' perspective was. But let's move on to, with the massive layoffs that we had at, during the pandemic, which was still going through, uh, the dwindling benefits, high cost of housing, um, the economic situations in households, and just a whole genre of stuff. How likely would you have someone, or give someone the advice to start a business? Because all of you guys have businesses, whether it's a business, whether it's an organization, whether it's nonprofit or not. In this day and time, would you give somebody advice to start something like mental health coaching? I know you, Shawnee, you do. I see you all the time with your books, and Shawnti with your books, and you got your speaking events, and I know you, Hanan, you've got your nonprofit. Tedrah, I see you all the time on social media as well, and Natalie, you have your life coaching and therapy. would you advise someone to open a business right now, especially women, because we don't have the backing that we should. We should have passed that hump a long time ago with the wage barriers and all this good stuff. And how do you guys feel about where we're at as women in this society? Have we broke down those barriers where we can walk into a financial backing we need, or walk into the same field and get paid the same as our male counterparts? And I'll start with you, Tedrah.
Um, I think if you're going to start a business right now with everything going on, I think you really have to be committed. And I think you really have to know and understand that this is going to be hard work. This is going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time, especially in the beginning. You're going to get frustrated, you're going to get angry, and you have to be so prepared for those things, because what you don't want to do is go through all of that and put it on your partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, because it's a lot. Running a business is a lot of work. And when you have so much that you have to do, so much things that God is putting in your heart to do, it can feel draining. But one thing I would say is it can also be the best decision you ever make. Like for me, starting my business was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it grew my relationship with God. It grew my relationship with my kids and my husband. It changed my life. Yes, there are going to be things that, that you struggle with. Like, for example, like, you might not have the clients that come in straight away, and it's not going to happen straight away. Best believe, like the people that tell you, oh yeah, do this, and then you'll be doing this within a month. It's not going to happen. I will be real with you. It will not happen within a month, because there's a lot of growth that has to happen within you as a person. And there's also a lot of growth that has to happen with your business. And as you're developing all of those things, it's not an overnight thing. I read something once that said it takes 10 years for your business to like be massive or big. And it can. But you can also still happen in 2 years or 5 years. But it takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of understanding if someone says no, because not everybody's going to say yes.
Yeah.
You have to prepare yourself for that no, and you have to prepare yourself for seeing other people that are in the same field as you doing better, because they might have started a long time ago before you. But at the same time, their purpose that God has given them is going to be different to your purpose. So you also have to, there's so much to understand. And in terms of like getting paid as much as the men, I'm sorry, but I'm here for it. My gender does not make it any different for you to be getting paid more than me. Like, we should be on the same. If I'm doing the same job as you, I should be on the same wage as you, regardless to your gender. Like, we're doing the same thing. If anything, I'm probably working harder because my brain is working more, because I'm a woman. I'm thinking of the A, B, C, D, Z. You as a man, you're thinking A and Z, and that's it. So I men and women paid the same. We're on the same level. I'm not below you just because I am a woman. No, we gotta be paid the same. Definitely.
I agree. And I needed some laughter. Welcome, Kimberly. How are you today?
Well, hi, Queens. I'm so glad to see you guys. Can I just tell you, I did this on purpose. This is how not to get invited next year.
Oh, no.
And she's going to say, oh my gosh, I don't think so. But
you know what?
She's not like that. She's so gracious. She just let me in. I totally had the time wrong. It was my fault. I'm so sorry, but I'm very
sorry,
glad
guys.
to be here.
I could have swore I put Eastern Standard Time, but I wasn't thinking. I've been all over the place this week. No worries. I am glad you all just said yes on a set. No worries. Introduce yourself to the ladies real quick, and we have jumped into 3 of the questions, so I'll pull you in for the
Yes, I can
last 3.
tell. Okay, awesome. What would you like me to include in my introduction? Anything, anything specific?
Whatever you want us to know.
Okay, well, my name is Kimberly Christian, and I'm a faith-based clinical social worker practicing in the great and hot state of Texas. So that's where I am right now. It's probably, yay, got some other Texans in the room. Awesome. I'm really excited about it cooling off eventually, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So I love therapy. I love Jesus with all my heart. And I have, I think, successfully combined those two things together. I just launched an online program earlier this year called the Christian Method. And it is an on-demand online class. People can work at their own pace where they learn cognitive behavioral therapy from a biblical worldview. So I am super excited about that, trying to get the word out about that. I also am a wife of almost 20 years. I have 4 children, which is another reason why I tend to run late. I am just all over the place trying to get everybody where they need to go, which can be very difficult because my husband is working. How many of you guys have ever heard of the ministry by Mike Winger called Bible Thinker? Anybody heard of that before? No?
No.
So pleased to share this with you. So you guys, if you are believers, if you are interested in that kind of thing, his whole ministry is about how to think biblically about everything. And the reason why I'm bringing him up is very graciously, they have decided to align with me just in the last couple of weeks to let me be a mental health consultant with them, because they get a ton of questions that come in about, I mean, you can imagine everything under the sun, but when it comes to counseling and things that are related to mental health, I could tell that there was a little bit of a gap in answering those things thoroughly. And so I put myself out there and they said yes. And I'm really grateful to be doing that. So I just wanted to offer that plug for any of you guys that maybe you work with somebody or you are somebody that just would really benefit from that ministry. I know I've learned a ton from them. So again, I'm happy to be here.
I am excited to have you. So we went through a couple questions, but we're going to move on with the one that we're on right now. And we're going to move over to Jamie. Jamie, you want to answer our last question with the massive layoffs and all that good stuff and our economy being in a delicate place? How do you feel about launching a business right now? Because you're a writer, you ghost write or freelance write, I believe, as well.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that? And I know you just published a book as well.
I am sitting here trying not to squirm with happy because I am very passionate about this topic. I was laid off from my journalism job 15 years ago, and I started Jamie's Notebook, which is my writing business. And ultimately, when I first started it, I told myself it was to get writing clips that weren't newspapers so that I could get a job with another agency. But then my husband encouraged me eventually to just take it to be my full-time only job. And I'm so grateful for that for so many different reasons. The flexibility, the fact that I now live with, I already had disability, but now I live with chronic illness. And so being self-employed has allowed me to continue that instead of having to completely quit the workplace. And so I think that as someone who has faced in the last major economic crisis, I faced needing to start my own business. I think that it's a wise thing for women to do. And I think that it provides us not only with more income, but it also provides us with a way out of the situation if we are forced out.
Shawnti, I see you on the move a lot. And just what Jamie just said, someone said that to me yesterday. I think we as people, not just as women, we need to have multiple streams of income. I see you doing that. You're out there all the time. I don't know when you sleep. What do you think about the question?
There are challenges when it comes to having your own business and starting a business. I would never tell someone not to start a business unless they are not serious. You have to be serious. You have to be committed. No, I do not sleep. As a matter of fact, when we get off of here, I'll be napping. But I still maintain my 9 to 5 along with what I do as a mental health coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and that's what's funding my business along with my clients. So I would never say, no, don't start a job that you just, it's not about the money per se. The money is going to come if you're passionate about what you do and you're helping people, you're really helping people and not just trying to take the money's going to come. So I'm not even worried about the money. But because my 9 to 5 finances, my lifestyle and all that stuff, you have to be resilient, you have to be creative, and you have to be willing to constantly learn. It's not just taking what you know right now and thinking it's going to carry you over. No, and then you have to know when to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep doing the same thing all the time and expecting, streams to come. Like you said, multiple streams of income. You name it, I do it.
Yeah.
And that is because that's because I have a message that I need to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you do whatever it takes. Like for me personally, I am very committed to what I do. And if that means me not going to sleep, that means me missing parties and all this other stuff, I'm gonna miss it because my purpose is greater than, those temporary things. This is a legacy for my children and grandchildren.
Well said. And with her saying that the legacy is me, how about you, Hanan? Because that's her brand. The legacy is me, guys. For that.
Look
Yes,
at
yes.
that.
The
Look at
legacy is
that.
me. I just had trademarked this year. It finally went through. If you ever trademarked anything, it's a process and it's expensive. And so I just had that officially done. So it's finally mine. Um, and very high level summary, what the legacy is me means is that you can write your own legacy. You can be the author of your own life. My auntie who raised me was a very wicked woman, and she often used to say, remember your parents left no legacy behind. Remember your parents left nothing behind. They left no legacy. She said that every day to my siblings and I. And I
Mm.
remember thinking, she's wrong. Like that was just God given. I always knew that she was wrong about everything she said to me, and everything, the vile, wicked things she did. I always knew she was wrong. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s. I was a nurse, and I had just started Earth Angels, and I had done all these great things, and I thought, wait a minute. I'm a nurse. I have a nonprofit. I have a kid that, I'm doing my best with. I'm a ride or die friend. I'm all these things. Wait a minute. The legacy is me. I'm the legacy. I'm what they left behind. I'm the legacy. It was literally like a catharsis. It was an Oprah moment, aha moment. I was working night shift as a nurse, and I literally had that moment, and I was like on my feet, like, wow, amazing. Um, so about the business question, I would say what my advice, because many come to me for advice because I've sort of done it all. Um, when I started Earth Angels, many told me, why don't you join a nonprofit? March of Dimes, my mission was mother and child related. March of Dimes does that every day. Susan G. Komen, join a cause that already exists.
Mhm.
I just knew that I wanted to do my own thing, and I knew that, like you were saying, Victoria, I knew that my mission here, one of the things I was destined to do, was Earth Angels, and so I just knew, and I pioneered and I trucked through. Could I have gotten more support? Absolutely. There's a saying that I'm going to say it wrong, but men are judged by their potential, and women are judged by their accomplishments. And I think that is what the saying is. And that's, I think, is very true. I had to prove myself. I had to run a nonprofit for 12 years to now have a seat at all these different tables where
Mhm.
people come to me and ask me for my opinion, because I have been on many a podcast and many a forum, and I'm the only one there who started a nonprofit that's sustainable and is 12 years old. So that experience that I now have under my wings has given me the grit and the confidence to feel like I have a seat along with all the other men in the room, though I always believed I did here and here. I had to prove myself. So that's unfortunate, but that's changing. All you got to do is get on TikTok, like I was saying, and you'll see that the Gen Z doesn't have the same traumas that we had when we were younger. They know and they believe, all the women believe and know that they are great women. What I would say is that to start a business, what is your end game? Because everybody can pick up a business, but what is your end game? What is your goal? Because if you're just going to start something, get excited about it, and then you hear crickets after 3 months and then let it go, that's a lot of waste of time,
Mhm.
money, etc. And we've all done that. We've all been real excited about something. It didn't take off the way we wanted it to, and then now maybe we had to let it go. So I would give advice in terms of what is your end game? What are you hoping for the business to do? What are you willing to give up? As Shawnti was saying, she said she has to give up her sleep. Is it worth it? But I live in the no regret zone. I don't believe in regrets. So if I really want to do something, I'm going to do it. And I would rather take the risk than lose the chance. And so I would tell that person, I would tell that young woman, is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to have no sleep, to lose your money, to be told a million no's, and for your end game? And if it's
Mhm.
not worth all those things, don't do it. But if it's worth it, whether or not you fail or succeed, whether you succeed or not, will you regret? That's what I always ask myself when I self mother about any decision. Will you regret it? And if you will, by not trying, then go for it. Go for it. And if you fail, like a baby learning to walk, you'll get up again and try again.
Great answer. You said something about invest that type of time, and you had to be the only one to get your own seat at the table full of nonprofit organizations. Someone said that to me, and it was so funny as you said that. My daughter, my baby girl, said that to me when I started this podcast. She said, Mom, you'll know that this is something that you want to do if you make more than 6 podcasts. Most people that start podcasts don't last past 6 episodes because they don't have the fortitude when they don't have any listeners, when they keep popping out episodes and they're the only one that's listening to their own self-talk. So almost 3 years in, I'm like, you know what? I got a fortitude at something. How about you, Natalie? Because I know you've got your practice and you're also an author. How do you feel about giving advice to some of our young kings and queens about being self-starters? Because they are go-getters and starting a business in this day and time because social media can help them brand anything.
I agree with what you ladies have already said. I do think that the end game is where you focus at first. Like, what is your passion? What is your hope? What are you willing to risk? What are you willing to give up? Sometimes we see people starting businesses or in business, I should say, and you think it's going to be an instant success. And most people don't have instant success. That's not generally what you get out of it. It is grind, it is sticking with it, it is resilience, it is fortitude, it is believing in yourself, right? Believing in what you're offering and saying what I'm offering may be 50 other people offering the same thing, but nobody can offer it the way I offer it. And it's holding on to that, right? Your uniqueness, your voice, your passion, your gift. And you have to believe in it first. And as I remember when I first started my business, and I started it after my mother passed away as just something to ground me, to have something that was mine, right? Because after I lost her, I felt very lost. But and I've worked my job as well. I think that you have to be willing to finance yourself. I think this idea that we jump in and we're supposed to come from pennies and it's supposed to grow into a million is unrealistic. And I think we have to have realistic expectations as we move, because when you're unrealistic, like it makes you give up quicker. That when you're realistic, like this is going to cost me. What else can I do on the side with it? When am I willing to give up? I've had my business for 17 years, but I worked as the first not having a 9 to 5 in the past like 2 months that I have left my 9 to 5. But it took me a long time to get here in many different circumstances. But you have to know that you're going to give up way more than what you get out of it in the beginning. And you got to be willing to lose to gain, right? You got to be willing to put everything you have into it. If nobody believes, if nobody's supporting you, if nobody's backing you, as you said, Victoria, you just the only person listening to yourself. Like, you have to step in there and say, I know I have a voice, I have something to offer. And the only other thing that I will add is write your own definition of what success is and change it as you move. What your first success is going to be different from what it looks like 5 years from now, right? So you have to be able to pivot and move and change your definition of what success is and get a different perspective on what failure is. Because I think that we see failure as such a negative, and failure can just be something for you to springboard on. We're gonna fail, we're gonna mess up, we're gonna miss the mark. We're gonna have to pivot and say that didn't work well, but this can work. And it's really you deciding, how do I keep pivoting as I meet barriers, as I'm not getting where I want to go? Is it me, right? Since I'm the constant in this relationship with myself and my business. And then if it's not, then how do I change it? And how do I keep getting what I want? And you got to know that you not giving up is your success so
Mm-hmm.
many times, that you kept, fighting through, that you kept going and put yourself at the table, even when nobody wanted you to be there, but you the table because you know you have something to offer and give back. So yeah, start the business, but start it realistically, and keep your feet on the ground as you're moving through it, so that you don't give up too fast.
Amen. Amen. I think a couple of you guys mentioned the seat at the table. That's even when I started this podcast. I was so busy trying to network, and someone told me, stop fighting for a seat at the table and make your own table. And I thought about that. I do sit at a king's table, the king. So I can make my own table. And that's what I started fighting. I started fighting and clawing my way for my business and God's business, not trying to sit at someone else's table. I know we were talking previously, but when we got this together, any of you ladies, first of all, I'm so grateful for your time. If you do have to click off, because I know it was some time barriers here, you're more than welcome to have to click off. And I want to thank you in advance if you do have to sneak off, because I've only got 3 questions out and we're already hour in. So I just wanted to put that out there first. Tedrah, how do you feel about the business, or did I already get to you? My mind is swirling.
You did. I'm the one who started.
All right. So we'll end it with Kimberly. Kimberly, the brilliant Kimberly that came into the room. How do you feel in this day and age? First, I'll let you answer all 3 of them in one, about being a woman in this day and time. 2, if any barriers or anything that you can leave behind for young women being a woman. 2, any barriers that you think in the educational system that we can break down. And the third one is, would you advise any of our young people to start a business in this date and time right now?
Well, I'm going to ask you for some accountability to keep me on track there, since it's all 3 in 1. Nobody else had to do that, but that's the price I pay. I'll start with the last one, because that's where you guys were answering, and there's not really very much to add to that. I mean, honestly, you just hit the nail on the head. In fact, what I was thinking as you ladies were speaking is how much I benefit from your answers. That is so encouraging and so validating to hear you ladies say what goes through my mind a lot during the high moments, during the low moments, during the, oh my goodness, am I the only one listening to what I just posted moments, right? And I just think that we never run out of an opportunity to hear that, right? Don't you guys just have moments where you just wish someone would whisper that in your ear again?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because I think about many, many people that have gone before us doing different things, different time periods, different generations, where they were told no like hundreds of times. And it was like that 101 time where something worked. And someone said, wow, you got something there, sister. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for all this time. But there's something that this is the only thing I can say to that. Because like I said, you guys just said it so beautifully. I felt like that was just like spoon fed to me. I heard somebody say this recently, that there's a lot of people, you know, I know we're all probably in very different fields, but very similar situations, and that we have something unique to offer. One of you ladies said that you have something to offer that no one can quite offer just like you. I love that. I think that is so awesome. And that we do a lot of, you know, convincing to other people that this, you know, this is something that we can offer that no one else can offer quite like we do. And the discouragement is that very thing, like in that answer is, but other people are doing this, right? But think about what you guys talked about already, where you try something for a couple of months, and the minute you're met with some sort of discouragement, you start kind of like backing off, or at least the temptation is to back off and to think, oh, well, that didn't work. You know, I guess this is a flop. But it's really in the stamina that makes us stand out as are you willing to pay the price? And that's a phrase I keep hearing through my head a lot is, are you willing to pay the price? And I know that I am, right? And all of you ladies are. You're willing to pay the price, whether it's sleep, whether it's time with your family or your friends, or it's money, or it's a number of different things. But that's what really separates us from people that would try something and then just immediately say, I can't do this, because their self-talk is such of, I don't have what it takes. And it sounds like everybody in this room, just from the little bit of time that I've spent with you, you probably don't deal with that kind of self-talk. Maybe you were blessed with, like what I say all the time, I've been blessed with not having this bully in my brain. I don't have this voice I'm always trying to talk down. God just absolutely gave me some amazing favor in my self-talk where I don't have to deal with that. And I'm glad, because I serve people that do. That's my entire job, is helping them to get their thoughts aligned. But anyway, it just kind of comes back to, you know, paying the price. And I know that eventually those things really do pay off, and we get those wins, and we start seeing that people are saying the very bit of feedback that we've been craving, like, oh, this really transformed my life, this changed me, this made me see myself the way God does, you know, whatever it is that you're passionate about. I think he does give us those nuggets every now and then that just kind of keep us on the path. Like, you're doing this, you did hear me right, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And that kind of leads to one of your other questions, which is, what would I say to people like starting a business right now? And I would say, like all of you have already said, my story is kind of a unique and funny one in that it was not my idea. This was not something that I thought was going to be a brilliant idea. This is in a way like a second career, even though I'm doing the same thing. I'm in the same package of being a therapist. I did not want to take on more at all. But there was a word that God spoke to my life literally decades ago, before I was even a therapist. And he just prophesied to me something big was going to happen, that he was going to allow me to be a part of. And I just kept hanging on to that word year after year. As my life changed, my family changed. And it just so happened that this is his timing. And so I can't take any credit for that at all. Like, I know it seems kind of strange to some people to be taking on a second career or a second path at my age, at my stage in my just the longevity of my career and all those things. But I can't argue with God's timing. This is when he decided to open all the doors for me, and it's very obvious. So I just going with it. And I just remind myself, like, he's the God of the impossible. Maybe this is all part of the story, is that other people are going to say, why would you do that? And I just say, look, there's no other way to explain this. This is him being glorified through this, because this was not my idea. This didn't make any sense to me to do this right now. And at the same time, deciding to homeschool my children. You know, all those things at the same time are kind of like, woohoo, why would you do that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you just knocked them out, all three.
Okay, good.
And that's an amazing segue into our next question, because the next thing I was going to ask you guys is, as women of faith, Christian women, all of us up here are women of faith. How does mental health, because most of you guys are in the mental health field in some way, how does mental health impact your families? And I'll start with you, Tedrah. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you. I am literally going to answer this question, and I'm gonna jump off and take the kids home because we're still at my in-laws. But you know what? Mental health is one of the most growing things in this world right now. Like for me and my family, it is so important because we have seen it and we have seen how it can really impact your life, and how if you don't overcome certain situations, certain barriers, boundaries, it can really affect the rest of your life. From such young ages, a lot of us go through things, and especially with our generation, we have got like strong-willed parents, let's say. We have got parents that are very like this. They're very firm, and there's no emotions, there's no, you know, sharing of how you're feeling. And
Mhm.
you just have to get on with it. And I think in our household, in our house, me and my husband, we really, really try and make sure like our kids communicate with us how they're feeling. Our kids tell us when things are going right, when things are going wrong. And then if we have done something, we will then also stand up and say, okay, I'm sorry I got it wrong, but this is why I thought this, or I'm just sorry I got it wrong, full stop. I think the key right now in this day and age is to break the generational trauma. A lot of people suffer, and a lot of people think it's okay because it happened to them. It's okay if they do it to the next person. It's okay if their child does it and then they do it to their grandkids and then this and then that. But it's not okay. And like we all know it's not okay. That's not the way that people should be treated. That's not the way you should treat your family members. And the way that you're treating them is really going to have an impact on them when they get older. It affects their relationships with other people. It affects how they're going to be at work. It affects their mood when they see a specific thing, because sometimes that trauma can be from a glass of water, and then from then they just cannot deal with that anymore. And so for us in our house, it's really important that we bring up our kids in the way that we believe, because we also might get it wrong. So it would be for us to bring them up in the way that we believe that God would want us to bring them up. And we also have to pray about them, pray about how we can help our kids and the things that we can do to help them overcome certain situations, because we also have to remember that there's some things that we can't help them with. So we always have to take it to God. As much as we want to, there's not there's a lot that we can't do ourselves. So we have to have faith and really have hope that God will take over in certain situations, and that the person in our life, or or the children in our lives, they will grow and they can overcome all those, the trauma and everything that they've been through from a young age. Because I think for our future kids, what we don't want is for the future to be so traumatized that we don't have a president, or we don't have a king, or we don't have all these people, because they're so stuck in their emotions, they don't know how to run the country. So we want to be able to grow these little humans to be our future kings, and to actually help this world be a better place.
Well said, my queen. Well said. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I see that you have your hands full, and you guys, she makes great, great content. If you're not following her on Instagram, it looks so professionally done. I was like, I need to hire her.
Thank
But
you.
everything that she just said, just having a conversation with her, that is truly how she does feel about everything that she goes at. She's a wonderful person. I thank you, Tedrah, for joining the show. I know it's late over there where you're at. So just for you popping in, thank you so much. And blessings and overflow to you. Is there anything that you want to leave behind for us? a link to a website or a upcoming an event? Because I'm gonna have all the ladies just whatever they're doing right now to go ahead and get a shout out there.
Yes, I will actually send you a link to my mentorship group. I launched my mentorship called Heavenly Sister Circle, and it is a space where women can come and we can praise God, worship, have Bible study, have discussions like we're having now, and see where it is that God wants us to go and what it is that
Mm,
He wants us to do in our lives. Like I was saying, like I really want to help women overcome their, you know, their barriers and overcome all of their trauma that they've been through. And I don't want them to do it alone. The key thing is to have a community behind you that supports you through this journey. Because, like I always say, like I think many people say this, but I am number one saying Jesus did not walk his walk alone. How can we expect to walk on our own? We can't. We
amen.
need people to support us and to question us when we think, something is wrong or something is right, and to help us really take that next step forward in our lives. So I will
Amen.
send over the link to Heavenly Sisters. And yeah, I would love to connect with all of you again and just, see where God is taking us in this life.
That's right. That's right. We are going to be generational connectors here. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Tedrah. And I will forward the link on to the ladies. If you want to, before you leave, you can drop it. If you can, drop it down in my private chat, and then I'll forward it over to the ladies.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Get
Thank
home
you.
safe.
Thank you guys. Have a lovely day for you guys, I think.
Yes.
All
And
right.
you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You're up next, Jamie, because I know that time was an issue for you too. You can answer that question for us before you leave out today.
Sure. Could you repeat the question? I just want to make sure I'm
It
focused.
was the question was, as a Christian woman of faith, you and your family at this day and age.
Okay. Um, that's what I thought I remembered, and I apologize. First of all, if there's a lot of background noise on my end, it started storming very heavily here, so that's why I'm kind of wavering a little bit. But mental health, I think, is so important, and I'm glad that the church as a whole, as a body, is starting to recognize that need. I think that in the faith community, it's very complicated because a lot of us grew up with being told that if you have a mental health issue, that it's because of your sin, and not because you have trauma, not because you have things that you need to overcome, which could also include being told that your mental health is a sin. I think that God made us body, mind, and spirit. And so when one part gets sick, it affects all of it. And so that's something that I've definitely lived with in my life. And I was taught to be ashamed of that, but I live with multiple mental health diagnoses that I am getting treatment for, and I just think that as a person of faith, I'm grateful to God that He created a science, that He created us to be curious enough to find mental health help, if that makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
to have the therapeutic, you know, the different therapeutic ideas. Kimberly, I think you mentioned faith-based CBT. Um, that to me been a very important practice, and I think that my faith and my health journey, whether it's mental or physical, I think they go hand in hand. And I'd love to see more of that and recognizing trauma and healing generational hurts and generational trauma,
Mhm.
and do it from a biblical perspective.
Mhm. Mhm. Well said. How about you, Hanan?
So we all have mental health, and I come from a medical background. So I'm a nurse, been a nurse for 17 years. We all have mental health, everybody does. And it's so wonderful that it's getting the voice that it does now in 2024. Mental health is being spoken about more than ever, at least in my lifetime. And so that's wonderful. But what has helped me is that I have prayed every day since I was a little girl. I pray all day long. I talk to God all day long. That's how I've self-mothered. That's how I've gotten through whatever it is, whatever obstacle. If I have a big project, a big deliverable, a deadline, if I'm about to be on stage in front of people that I think are, idols or really important people, it's prayer, and it's um, that sort of meditation space that I can go to in my mind that has gotten me through the hardest times. I think that what I have noticed as I've gotten older is that mental health, anxiety, and I would say predominantly anxiety gets worse as you age. And I think that I know a lot of people over 40 who are a feather away from, losing whatever, just having sort of panic attacks, anxiety ridden. I know a lot of people who went through a lot but were fine, handled it okay as they were younger. And now that they're older, they're a feather away from losing the plot. Hate to say that saying, but it's true. And so I think that it fascinates me how, as we get older, if we're not careful and if we are not mindful of this, we can very easily cross to the other side where we're scared to leave the house. How many people who are scared to leave the house, who don't want to go to places anymore? People want to sit in their bed and be on their phone all night long. A lot of people slowly become like hermit-like. They want to go to work, even the groceries are delivered to the door. If you are not careful, you can very quickly cross over from having a little anxiety to be anxiety ridden, not wanting to leave the house and being scared of everything. I have seen that as I have, joined the fourth floor in my 40s. So I will say that for me, what's helped me, even when I felt close to those more anxious moments, scared even, I've had to walk myself back, and prayer has been a big part of that. And also reminding myself of where I come from and what I have done. In the words of Maya Angelou, I come as one, but not alone. And so reminding myself of all that I've done and all that I've accomplished, and that this is not going to break you now, Hanan. This is not going to be what causes you an anxiety attack. This is not the thing.
Mhm.
You have sailed many a difficult sea. So it's constant self-mothering and prayer that has helped me sail the seas. But one of my favorite African proverbs is that smooth seas don't build skilled sailors. And I tell this to all the young people I know, including my children, that I know it's rough right now. I know it is, but you will get through it and you'll be on the other side, stronger, no more, etc. So that's what's
Mhm.
helped me, and that's the advice I give to folks out there, because I see it all the time. Mental health has become a crisis. It's an epidemic. Like I said, I'm in the medical field. You wouldn't believe the crisis calls we hear every single day. And so it's amazing what the human touch, human kindness, getting back down to the basics of love and compassion, empathy. That's
Mhm.
the game changer.
Natalie Lamb, for one, because I just love to hear your perspective on this when we talked in detail about this.
Well, I mean, I think mental health is everything. I agree with you, Hanan, that everyone has mental health. I think that we have to find our mental wellness within our health. And I think we don't often, and if we talk about from the beginning, right, up until adulthood, I think so much has been missed in being able to give our children good mental health, of teaching them how the mind works, how to build safety, how to self regulate, how to do these different things that are required for us to get to a good health when we become adults. Of course, our parents were very different in how they approached mental health. We did not talk about it. It was something that was really just a thing that you figured it out as you moved on, right? Like pick yourself up by your bootstraps Everybody got to deal with difficulties. You just keep pushing through. You intersect God with that, then God becomes more of a crutch than your savior, and God becomes more a spiritual bypass and really dealing with the grit of what's going on. And I think that mental health and God, meet each other right there in the middle. I think that when we are able to be real in our experience, right, to really travail with God through everything we go through, we see Him in a different aspect. I think we give our kids that. I think we give our children the ability to say life is hard, not in comparison to my life, but just in your little world, because your little world is the only world you have. So those 5 years matter, and those 10 years
Mhm.
matter, right? And at 15, that's all the life you have. It does not need to be compared to my adult life and what I've been through. But right now, I can validate where you are. I can guide you through it. I can give you the
Mhm.
tools, right, in order to move and pivot and learn those different things. I think, probably most of us weren't given that as children. But now that we're here and we see it from a different perspective, we can hand them something we never had. We talk sometimes about the generational aspect of trauma, and in some church world they call it generational curses. But the truth of it is that it's just choices. It is us choosing different roads, is us choosing different ways to learn how to deal with anxiety, to honor the fact that we do get anxious as people when we don't know, when we feel unsafe, when we're scared, when we're facing something. Anxiety in and of itself is not the problem. It is how do I manage it? Because anxiety is a real emotion that we can honor and validate and move with and learn from, right? So as we figure out how do we experience the gamut of being human, and we humanize it and we say being human is actually normal, and everything does not have to be a pathology, everything is not necessarily an illness, but it's a
Mhm.
human experience too. That I think we can kind of move, in a space where being human is not always a diagnosis, it's not always a problem, but it is just reality that we have to pivot through because we've all been here, right? And that's
Mhm.
not putting down where there are real diagnoses and there are real illnesses that come. But I think we have kind of stepped into the realm where everything becomes a pathology. And we have to be mindful that we are still humans in this experience and we are learning and pivoting as we go. Um, Intersect the God thing, right? And how do we do this? I think one thing I've taught this class many times is the art of lamenting. And I think that part has not been loud in churches, but that secret language of lamenting that we see throughout scripture of how they connected to God in their adversity, how they connected to God when they were lost, when they had lost, right? When they were scared and confused, they came to God with such honesty, with such
Mhm.
realness. It was not this,
Mhm.
oh, I have faith, so I don't have to tell you. I'm asking you how long and when will you and how long will it take and how could you? Like those were the words of those men and women of scripture that we lost, that we
Mhm.
came into it and took away the humanity of being with God as if we're supposed to be gods. No, I am always just human. I'm always in need of a savior. I'm always in this place of God, help me. God, I'm trying to understand you. God, give me
Mhm.
direction. I disagree with you, even, right? But how do we give that space for us to give God the questions so he can give us the answers? And I don't
Yes.
have to try to create them on my own. I can literally allow him to speak to me in those situations, but I cannot come to him in a space where I don't really need you. So I'm just going to say this. No, I'm broken, confused, lost, devastated, and trying to figure out why you have given me this portion right now. So you guide me, you lead me, you show me. And then we see God show up in a way that the men of scriptures got to see God. We want that, but we don't do what they did, right? And a huge part of our mental health explodes when I'm able to be raw with God and real with God. Then I'm seeing him in a way that I get to see myself through his eyes. And then
Mhm.
I'm transported, I'm changed, I'm renewed, right, in a way that I had not been before. But it was because I gave
Mhm.
him all of me, expecting him to
Mhm.
show, lead, guide, direct, right?
Mhm. Well, I just had an aha moment. Um, you said just now, like I was going through a week of that. Of I need to be angry, I need to be frustrated, I need to understand why I'm going through this. And it's so funny
Mhm.
that you said it. And I was just sitting here thinking before I got the last comment. God, you are so amazing at how you go about answering my questions for one. Um, and you just summed it up perfectly for me personally, and I'll get into that with you later. Jamie, how about you? Guys, we lost Hanan and we lost Shanti. Shanti said she was about to pass out. She's on tour, on book tour. So I totally understand it. And this has gone a little bit longer than I anticipated. So we'll give it over to you, Jamie, because I know that you had to go as well. How do you feel about it? Or did you
About the,
already answer it? The
yeah, I
mental
already answered
You
the
already
mental
answered
health
it. Okay.
person. Yeah.
So now we're with Kimberly. Kimberly, the mental health guru.
Well, that's a big title, but oh my gosh, you're right in the sense that I could talk about that for hours, and you know that, and I do.
Mhm, mhm,
Mental health and Jesus, my two favorite things in the entire
mhm,
world, and always will be. So I have a lot to say about it, but I will just try to hit some of the really important nuggets. Mental health is health. I very, very much believe that. I want that to be a message that I share with people often. I as I dove into the beautiful, beautiful scriptures that God has left for us in creating the Christian method, it just was so abundantly clear to me that mental health is at his heart. And the reason why I say that, it's not that there's all these diagnoses mentioned in scripture or anything like that. A little bit of what Natalie was talking about, just the lamenting and all of those common symptoms are definitely mentioned. But what I'm talking about is his heart for our thoughts was so obvious to me that not only is he saying, love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength as number one, and number two, love your neighbor as yourself. But the verse in Romans 12:2 became the hallmark verse of my entire program. It is, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you can test and approve God's perfect and pleasing will. And I think when I reread that in preparing for this program, it was like, Victoria, like you said, like an aha moment, like, oh my
mhm,
gosh, transforming your mind, like that's what I do. It
mhm,
just felt like such a huge God wink of him saying, yes, you're on the right path. And people need to know this. They need to know that what I want for them and how they're going to have more of a biblical worldview is that they align their thinking, they leave their thinking and their beliefs at the altar, and they pick up mine. How do I want you to see? How do I want you to feel? How do I want you to behave? How do I want you to see yourself?
mhm,
And not many people, just like I said, in my last answer, not many people are willing to do that.
mhm,
They're not willing to do a lot of the things that each of us ladies apparently is willing to do. um,
mhm,
that's the answer. Like, having a biblical worldview means that your preferences do not matter, that you're willing to say, I might be totally wrong. I may have, like Natalie said earlier, I may have totally missed the mark on this, but that's
mhm,
okay. This life is not about me. It's really about adopting God's view of everything that he
mhm,
created. And that includes us, and it includes our neighbors and our loved ones and all of that. And so the two things that I'm most after in what I'm doing right now is saving lives and saving souls.
mhm,
Those two things go together. And the way that I get to a person's, symptomology of mental health and suicidality is really helping them to see that their thoughts are always the problem. That's where all of our battles start, is in our mind.
mhm,
And so you can tell, like, all of you ladies are shaking your head, and you realize, like, that's why this is such a passionate platform for me, and maybe even for you guys. I missed some of your introductions. But I want to not just encourage people in realizing that it's important. I want to teach them how. there's a big missing piece in the church, which is you might realize that your thinking isn't right, but how many people are spending time telling you how to change that thinking rather than just reading 66 there's an actual strategy, right? And
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about teaching people how to do that because I know how it's changed my life.
And this is why I wanted to do this in 2 segments. I know it was going to be a long conversation. We only tapped into 3 of the questions that I had out of 5. But this is why, because I knew that the group of ladies that I brought together, you guys would have some answers that'll help me. And if I'm asking these questions, somebody else is out there asking some of these questions. They have the same thoughts swirling around in their mind. And I think to a fault, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So anything that I come into contact with, whether it be education, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be mental health, I wear that with me. And that's something that God is trying to teach me, to separate my personal and not bring all that baggage in, because I can't save the world. I'm not Jesus, but I knew that you guys, bringing all you guys together collectively, would give me something else to think about, um, in all the areas that we talked about today. If you guys could leave us with any lasting words, because I'm not even going to dive into the other 2 questions. I've kept you guys long enough. What would it be? And we'll start with you, Jamie.
Any last thoughts? Oh, of course I'm first. One of the things that someone taught me one time was give them Jamie. That became my mantra for a year. And as a woman and as a person of faith and everything, learning to give my unique self to whatever situation I'm in, whether it's work, family, nonprofit work, my faith. People need us to show up. And God needs us to show up. He draws us to Him. That's something that I think is important, is to not just show up, but bring who you are to the table, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your faith or work.
Amen. How about you, Natalie?
Ending thoughts are also so difficult because we've talked about so much stuff. So I think if I end with anything, it is, part of my mantra is, it's your choice, right? It's your choice to choose God. It's your choice to choose yourself. It's your choice to move in the direction that God leads you into. We always have choices at the end of the day. Choosing is not choosing is the same as choosing. So it is learning how powerful our choices are, and that at any time we get to pivot and change, right? Learn to embrace the mighty pause of learning just to calm your own voice down, to calm your thoughts down, to get redirected before you move. I think we move so fast. We talk too fast. We move too fast. We don't know how to really calm ourselves to just get in touch with us inside, right? And the God inside us, for those that believe. It is important that we learn that and we see that as a gift that we give ourselves as well as we give out to others. If I throw anything else in there, it would be to learn that you have the ability to always change your mind. And in changing your mind, sometimes it is the biggest gift that you can give yourself. Be willing to always own when you're ignorant, because ignorance is just simply you don't know. And there's no embarrassment in not knowing. When we think we know it all, we don't search out for more. So keep yourself in a space of, this is something I don't know, but I can always learn. And it opens you up to a plethora of things that you never would have partaken in if you stood in the place of I know. So everything I approach is comes from, there's so much of this that I don't know. And I've been doing this for 25 years and there's still so much I don't know. So I am with my clients in the space of, you teach me you, and let's grow together, but let's learn, right? Learning is exciting. It does not have to be daunting. It does not have to be scary. It is just you opening yourself up to a bunch of information you did not know before. And then you get to pick and choose from the plethora of information out there. and then you get to decide and you get to make choices. So realize how much power it is in your choices. Own your choices, own the consequences of your choices, and
Mhm.
own the fact that with your choices you can pivot and move, and hopefully we all want to help somebody else live a better life.
Thank you, Natalie. You know, one of the things that stuck out for me with you during our last conversation was, and I carry this with me now, you said, you know, it's okay not to know everything. Do you know how beautiful it is just to learn? And that stuck out to me from our last conversation many months ago. And it made me look at everything so different because I think sometimes we walk into situations where we feel like we either got to know everything, we
Mhm.
have to know everything, or it's that fake it till you make it mentality. And we're not um confident enough in ourselves to say, you know what, I just don't know, and learn together. Or maybe you can teach
Yeah.
me something that I don't know because I don't know everything, you know. I didn't know how to put this show together. I knew it was something that God laid on my heart. And I told everybody, you know, I went to the University of YouTube and learned everything because people are not apt to share everything when you're in content creative spaces. They kinda hold stuff to the vest, and it's a fact. Um, so I had to figure some things out on my own, and I thank God for that because I was able to share it with my church. I never thought that I would be going back to my church that I grew up so long ago, and they're not Wi-Fi or internet literate, and I was able to do their videos and help them. So God had a purpose for everything that He had me doing.
Yeah.
So I love that. Kimberly, last but not least, and then we're gonna get out of here, guys.
So this is just like closing remarks, just anything.
Mhm.
Okay. Anytime I get the chance, one of the messages I want to share is just that you matter. That's something that God puts on my heart often with my line of work. And again, we just can't hear that enough. You matter. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I am so keenly aware, just as I know these other ladies are too, that unfortunately, Satan does have power in this life and in this earth, and he does work really diligently to fill our minds with things that are the exact opposite of how God wants us to see ourselves. And I just want you to think about what your life would look like if you had a core belief that you are so loved. What kind of decisions would you make? What kind of feelings would you have? What would life look like if you really knew in your heart how loved you actually are, and that Satan can never come against that? He can never convince you otherwise because it's so solid in your heart that there's only one you. And
Mhm.
there's never, it just blows my mind to think about our creator in that capacity, that he will continue to create humans, and there's never going to be one that's exactly like who you are. Never.
Mhm.
And that's so valuable.
Mhm.
And I think when we have a core belief like that, that is really that secure in our hearts, then even when we have a thought of, I can't do this, this is too much, other people would be better if they didn't have the burden of me,
Mhm.
that can be a fleeting thought. And then God just immediately rushes in with, that's not for you. That thought is not for you. That is not how I see you. I'm the one who is the author of life and death. And don't listen to anything other than that. My
Mhm.
word is going to be here forever, and it's lasting and it's truthful. And it's just awesome. He's just awesome. So thank you for letting me share that.
You're welcome. You guys filled me, and I believe God knew what He was doing today. Thank you guys so much. And then there were two. I was getting ready to close it out, but she left already. Guys, do you want to leave any of your handles, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube? Where can they find you? Anything that you are doing right now currently that you want the audience?
Yeah, so my website is www.natalielamb.me. Simple. Facebook is It's Your Choice, and Instagram is It's Your Choice '06. I have two books, The Wisdom Chronicles, Open Your Eyes, and What I Want You to Know. So you can pick those up, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all those fun places. But always on a mission to try to help others, open for clients, to help with life coaching, relationship coaching, including parenting and marriage and dating and pre-marriage. I do all of that, as well as grief coaching, which is something that has become over these last 22 years after losing my mom a really, really big part, that I never thought would be a part, but it has become a really big part of what I do, of helping people through the grieving process, the loss of people, but also all the losses that we deal with. So it is, encompassing of so much. So, look me up.
I definitely will. And with that being said, that was one of the things that I wanted to tap in today too, was the grief, because I know that's something that you specialize in. I would love to have you back on and do a one-on-one sooner rather than later. I know I'm on break, but I'm going to do some pop-ups because I know a lot of people and a lot of people are dealing with that. You as well, Kimberly, if you have something that you want to try in on that situation with grief, I'd love to do something really, really soon here with that. But where can they find you and what are you up to, Kimberly?
So my handle for YouTube and for Instagram is the same. It's at Kimberly Christian LCSW. I do have a website that's going to be launching in about 3 weeks. So I'll go ahead and tell you what that's going to be, but it's not quite ready. It's KimberlyChristianLCSW.com. And then I have a Facebook community, and that is Belief-Based Healing Hub. And those are all great ways to connect with me.
Mm-hmm.
So thank
And
you
it's
again.
a wonderful group. I'm a part of that group. So
Yes,
it's a wonderful group. Well, as for me, guys, the only thing that I have to say is thank you so much for those of you that carved out your time on a Saturday to be with us. I really, really appreciate it. I've been pushing this for a little bit, and this year I'm able to finally get it off the ground. I have what I have called this program that I have been trying to launch for the last 2 years. And what this is, it is where I'm trying to get people to do donations, something as small as throw blankets, socks. So I can go into a living facility of my choice every year and gift at least 50 to 100 men and women that don't have anybody coming in to see them during the holiday. Most of you guys know my story. We ended up putting my mom in a living facility. And although she had all the love in the world from us coming, when I would walk through those halls, you would see people literally sitting in their wheelchairs and no family to visit them. No one was bringing them a 7-course meal at Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I wanted to do something about that as a way to give back. Our seniors get left out when they get placed in places like that. And as well as my prayer group, we go pray at a lot of those places. And in the Virginia area, guys, some of those people don't even have televisions. So they're staring at the wall all day. They're waiting for someone else to assist them with something. And their Social Security checks is paying for them to be in these places. So if I can do something about that, I'm going to. So with that being said, I have a young lady. Her name is by the name of Hustle Queen. If you guys can see my T. She's doing t-shirts for 12th Street Talk Back. They're going to be $36. Only $6 of the proceeds is going to go to me because she's a small business. We want to put something in her pocket, as well as we want to help her with the shipping. But that's going to go towards my senior Christmas program. That is one of the ways that you can donate to this program that's kicking off September the 1st, which is tomorrow. And I'm going to try to gather all of that. Another way is sign up and join the show by Spotify. If you follow the show on Spotify, they have an option for you to subscribe to the show as little as 99 cents a month. If you subscribe to the show and follow, that money goes into an account and they'll pay me out monthly. And that is what I'm going to do with that money. None of those proceeds are going in my pocket. I want to be able to give back to the community. And with platforms like this, we had 7 beautiful ladies here today, all unique, all distinct, all prayer warriors. God told me a long time ago that this platform was going to become a way to bring people together for healing and hope. And I've met some beautiful people. And this is just the beginning of the group of ladies that you have seen here today. So I thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Kimberly,
Thank
for
you.
staying to the end. And if nothing else, guys, enjoy your holiday weekend. I'm going to get out of here and let you guys go. Guys, remember, follow all these ladies on their platforms. I will pin all their information to the end of this show. This segment will be out on Tuesday, September the 3rd or 4th, but you can always come back and watch it from the beginning on our YouTube channel, and that is at 12th Street Talk Back. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining the show. If you guys can't do anything else this weekend, get yourself into a Bible based church under the covering of a great leader. Give someone a kind word, and a hot meal goes a long, long way. Thank you guys again for joining.